Hi everyone, it's Brad here from caredata.com.au and today is really interesting. Today, what we're going to go through is home care package pricing, and more importantly, we're going to actually take a look at 20 of Australia's leading home care package providers in no particular order, but the goal of this exercise is to cover a couple of things. The first thing is I want to talk about home care package pricing transparency and I guess what the mandate was and essentially what it's given us because it's not good enough. The second thing I want to talk about is how should we be finding a value proposition, and also how should we be benchmarking ourselves against other providers. And the third thing I want to talk about is where are all these providers landing? And based on where we are landing, if it's certain parts of the rate schedule that are making us look good or not as good, how do we actually use that to our advantage in our next conversation when we're trying to convert a potential client? Because that's probably the most important thing, guys. Irrespective of what your prices are, what's the most important is that your front line is able to find a value proposition to help you convert your future clients. So we're going to go through that today. Hopefully you guys stick around for the whole thing because it's going to get very interesting. Pricing transparency. This shook our world when it was announced that we're going to have pricing transparency. And this is potentially, for me, the most underwhelming output I have ever seen for something that was announced the way it was announced. So what the pricing transparency is everybody has to put their home care package pricing and rate cards essentially into My Aged Care. The Commonwealth has decided they're going to just take a median of all of those rates and publish one A4 piece of paper. So what that A4 piece of paper, which you can see right here, does for us is it tells us what the median prices are across each package level for our fixed fees, so care management and package management, by partnership option, which is by provider or self-managed. What it shows us is the median prices across our common services, travel and exiting a home care package. And what they've decided to do is show us that by the Monash model, by those 7, region classifications, and also by state. This is great when I want to benchmark my particular provider against the national average. It hasn't reduced the amount of work I now need to do to find a value proposition. It hasn't reduced the amount of work I need to do to benchmark what we do versus our primary competitors in our area. And it certainly hasn't helped me find what are the positives and negatives that I should be talking about in terms of value to the client. Because again, unless you know how to read a home care package rate card, this doesn't do anything. Unless you know how to completely put a budget together end to end, this doesn't do anything. This is a subpar output, and what I want to do is take you through a little bit of logic that is going to help you, your organization, and also your clients understand how we can better benchmark and what it is we should be looking at depending on what the value driver is. So for me, and what I want to go through today, the value driver we're going to be looking at is hours of service delivery, and I hope for you and your organization that's also the case. Couple of things with this data set. So I've obviously trawled my own data set. I've taken every ounce of pricing information off My Aged Care. So I've got all of that. I've got all of your outlets pricing information. And what I can tell you about this output here is that it's most probably, this is an assumption, but it's probably done at an outlet level because that's how pricing is put together. So we put it into My Aged Care, not at a provider level, we put it in at an outlet level. So if some organizations, and believe me, some of them do, have tens and tens and tens of outlets, they could be obviously altering the median pricing. So it's something we need to be considerate of if there's other larger providers that are operating many less outlets. So it's not really reflective. Something else we need to consider is there are plenty of providers that are still non-compliant. Seeing providers suggesting they're offering 20 hours of core advisory package management services on a level 1. So you're going to get their case manager for 20 hours a fortnight. So we know it's incorrect. We know that no one's delivering personal care for $1 an hour. We know there's still issues. So a question I would have for the Commonwealth is what have we done about it, and how have we filtered those specific sets of data out, or those providers out, and also what is the call to action for those providers to fix it. So what I've got in my data sample is 20 providers for you, who I believe are 20 of the largest providers nationally, and we're going to take a look at them. First of all, guys, how should we actually look at home care package pricing? Because what's going to happen is people are going to call and they're going to want to talk about, well, what do you charge for an hour? And we know that that is so far removed, and I'm about to prove why it's so far removed from what we actually should be talking about, because it doesn't give us the answer we want. So what I've developed here is a little bit of a formula. It's a very obvious one, a very basic one. Those in your organization who have put together your budget packs or your budget document, your budget calculator, this is the approach they would have used. It's probably not presented like algebra. So essentially our formula is, and I'll go through the simple version because that makes the most sense, is total package income minus my total fixed fees for a period. Whatever's left over after I've taken those fixed fees out, I divide that by the average service delivery hour. So my 5 primary service categories, I divide it by the average, and that's going to tell me how many hours of service I'm going to receive in a fortnight with that provider on that package level on that partnership option. Does that make sense? Excellent. I'm hoping it does, guys. So I've taken the liberty of getting the Australian average for you. The Australian average, this is based on a level 3 provider managed package, by the way. That's the scenario here, guys. The Australian average is $1,317 a fortnight. Subsidy supplement, we'll say contribution, but we actually don't know. $335 is what they're going to pay as a combination of their package management fee on a level 3 and also the provider fully managed fee for case management. So what is left over is now that little $982 a fortnight. And what we then do is we take the average of the nursing, light gardening, in-home respite, personal care and cleaning and household tasks. The average of that is $64, and we divide the 982 over the 64, which has told us, after all fixed fees are taken, assuming that you only receive standard hours, this is the best possible scenario for you, Mary, the most you will ever receive from a provider as an average is 15.3 hours per fortnight. So guys, that's the metric that I'm going to drive today's conversation to. It's an important one. I think we all should be talking about this and finding value in this metric. And what we're also going to do is benchmark 20 providers in Australia, very large ones. I hope you know who these are. We're going to benchmark all of these providers across the primary metrics, but more importantly, we're going to put them in a line and we're going to show you who is delivering the most hours of service versus who is delivering the least hours of service, because that is very important for us all to know when we're looking at talking to our clients. Okay guys, so what I have here is national pricing by postcode, by provider, and what I've done is I've taken one outlet from each of those 20 providers. So I haven't there's no logic in this. I've just picked an outlet at random for each of those providers. And what we are now looking at to get our bearings is our care management, fully managed and self-managed. This is the price, this is the hours we've set. Already you're starting to see some things, I can tell that, guys. We're going to look at our package management charges, and that right there, when we put it all together, that's that top part of the formula, the first part, which is our fixed fees. We already know our subsidy supplement contribution at this point. What we're then going to look at is personal care, nursing, cleaning, light gardening, in-home respite. So we're going to take an average of all of our primary hours of service delivery. We're only looking at standard hours for the sake of this. I would love to be able to get as complex as going into public holidays and Sundays, but for today we're just going to look at standard hours. And what we're then going to talk about is, well, where does it leave us? Because I've put that formula together and I can show you where we all sit in terms of service delivery hours across both partnership options. So essentially, guys, care management, fully managed by the provider, our averages and medians, they're pretty similar, right? So on a level 1, you're probably looking near on that $60. Level 2, just over 100, 218, anywhere up to 312. hours, seeing a lot of non-compliance or poor compliance in this in general. This isn't, obviously our Hammond Care here is a good example of it, but this is rife throughout pricing nationally, is that we haven't been great at getting data into the system. I would absolutely be recommending whoever manages my aged care within your organisation should take a look at the hours, because it's wrong in so many places, guys. The main thing is, look, I could take you through every single metric. That's going to take us all day and night. If you want a copy of this file, I have a national file. Benchmarking packs is something I'm offering as a service. Just reach out. I'm happy to have a conversation with you and see what we can work out. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's talk about what are we going to get in hours of service delivery. So in hours of service delivery, what I've got is self-managed and provider managed. And the first thing I want you guys to notice is where the green is, where the amber is, and where the red is. And the first thing we really want to look at is, why are we green in some areas and amber in others? Because we can absolutely see that. I'm going to pick on a few here, guys. Let's just take a look. So Southern Cross Care, you guys show not great value in self-managed packages and okay value in provider managed packages. Why are our fixed fees so high when the service is so different? Why is that so different? Why is it not spread evenly across the board? Is that a back office problem, or what is it? It's probably a system problem, or we just need to revisit pricing. We're being very candid here, guys. Anglicare, you guys show incredible value on the self-managed stuff, but I'm assuming what we're doing is pushing a lot of people into provider managed, because people only come in on lower level packages, guys. So we know that 80% of all people who are coming in are going to come in on these options here. So we're either making it really good for ourselves because we're pushing everyone to provider managed and we're excellent at it, or we're making a rod for our own back because now no one, based on that pricing, is going to be selecting provider managed on a level 1 and 2 package. So your partnership options might not be reflective of what they should actually be, because they're increasingly harder to sell based on the way we've done our pricing. So that's some things that I would look at here. We could talk about this stuff all day, guys, but the most important thing, and I'm assuming you're looking at your own organizations here, but the most important thing for us to do is understand, where do we show value? So this is the number, this is where I sit overall. But now what am I going to talk about? So I'm going to bring you guys back in. So where did each of the providers land? Guys, what I've done is I've taken everyone's ranking 1 through to 20 across the average of their hourly rates, and 1 through to 20 across the average of their fixed fees. And I've put you guys all along here. So we can see in terms of hourly rates, those that are showing the best value are at the top. Those that are showing value which isn't as great is down the bottom. With the fixed fees, our best value is to the right, and our value that isn't as great is over to the left. So essentially, when we're looking at this little bit of a matrix, I guess we'll call it, up in the top right, hang on, here we go, I've got it here. So this is our best value quadrant. We've got our 2, this and the diagonal one, I can't reach it, which are, you would say, the middle. So we're leaning a little bit towards fixed fees or hourly rates and not as great on the other. So is there something we need to review centrally in terms of our modelling? And then what we've got is our opportunity in the bottom left quadrant, where we're not showing tremendous value in our hourly rates or our fixed fees. And based on experience, what this tells me is we're probably going to offer overall the least hours of service delivery. So let's see how we land there. And I have some results for you guys. So you would have already been looking at the ones that are of interest to you, because I know that's exactly what I would have done. But this is actually, I'm going to be very honest here, Ozcare showed the best value. You guys had this is across all levels. So obviously some of you guys have levels that show better value than others just because of strange things in your pricing where it's not even the whole way across. But overall, what we were looking at is a fluctuation of hours from 8.8 up to 12.3 across all packages per fortnight. Ozcare was sitting at the 12.3 hours end, and down at the other end of the table, KinCare was down at 8.8. So we're looking at about 30% variation across the market. And this is just in general. This isn't for any particular package type. This is absolutely just in general. I can comfortably say if you only take on standard hourly rates, you're going to get 30% more hours out of Ozcare than you will get out of KinCare. So Mary, if that's what you're shopping on, that's where I'm going to push you. For a lot of you guys in the middle, in the silver and bronze tier, what you will find is you sat either in higher fixed fees and lower hourly rates, or vice versa, lower fixed fees and higher hourly rates. And I guess what we need to consider here is, what is our value proposition? Because it's hours of service delivery, we're about the middle, right? But what do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk about how great our case management is, and try and justify our fixed fees that way? Or are we going to talk about, well, you know what, I'm happy selling an hourly rate and almost hoping people don't even ask me about the fixed fees, because that's completely at a separate end of the price card. This is, I guess, a conversation that you guys will need to have internally. But my suggestion to you is have that conversation. Understand where you sit. This is confronting data, right? When we take a look at this and we put us all together and we go, here's where we stand, it's confronting. We don't always do that. I'm here to do that. I'm here to show you guys where we all stand, because we need to force this conversation forward. I'm here to do it for the consumers as well. So another site I am about to launch will absolutely be doing this exact thing for the consumers with a tool that they can use to benchmark everyone. It's not been done before, but we need pricing transparency to be better, because pricing moving forward, it can't be the scapegoat for a poor business model. We have to get better at this stuff, and this is what I'm asking you guys to do. And if you want help with that, reach out. I'm absolutely happy to talk to you about a model I have that can just show you what your opportunities are. We just plug in a couple of data points and off we go. But if you're not happy with where everything is sitting, it's up to you to change. We can change it. What I will do and continue to do is grab this information. So I will be grabbing this data weekly. That particular set is about 2 weeks old, just because I've been busy for the last fortnight, but I will have that data weekly. And if you would like it, reach out. I'm happy to benchmark it. If you have 20 competitors in your local area that you want to know about, I'm happy to do that. This is just the start of a conversation. So guys, if you need anything, reach out. All my details are down here. Visit my website. I absolutely plan on putting a lot of content on the website. My goal is to educate. My goal is to challenge and ask a lot of questions. And whilst that might make some of us feel uncomfortable, it's absolutely the way we need to consider moving. So yeah, reach out if you need anything, and we'll talk soon.